Hello and welcome to a VO's Journey podcast. My name is Anthony Pica, and this show is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business and sidestep all of the crazy things that I seem to step on. Well, it is the 19th of October, Monday night. It's 11:01 p.m. where I am, and I am thrilled to be bringing you this next episode. I believe this is number 182. We are really close to 200, and tonight I want to talk to you about something that I like to call, what if I could? Okay, we're going to talk about what if. This is an exercise to grow your business and to help you go beyond what you think is possible, and build that build that dream that you've been thinking of all this time. All right, let's do it.
This is VO's Journey. With your host, the incomparable Anthony Pica.
All right, so I know I'm coming on tonight and I'm talking about something that's philosophical, but, I want to talk to you about, this idea called what if. And, basically, what if is a term or a technique that, is used in all sorts of places, business and the theater and acting. But the idea is that we, for a moment, suspend disbelief. Okay, we suspend disbelief in our business or our acting or whatever it is that's standing in our way. For a moment, we suspend disbelief, and we ask ourselves a series of what if questions. All right. And, I want to go over this exercise with you tonight, and hopefully maybe you'll ask yourself some of these. So, what if you could do more? What if you could make $10,000 a month in voiceover? What would that look like? What if you had the most amazing sounding voiceover after you produce it? What if your production was super fast? What if your equipment was excellent? What if your space was set up perfectly? What if your marketing was sleek and easy to implement but super effective? What if it was easy to get work? What if money was not an issue? These aren't dreams. This what if scenario or this what if exercise, it inevitably leads you to this next question. And that question is, what if this happens, then this needs to happen. So basically, or what if this were to happen, what would that look like? I love this exercise, right? Because if we actually, dare, right? If we actually dare to even step out on the ledge and say, what if this wasn't the ledge? What if there was a bridge from this ledge to the other side? What would that look like? How would I accomplish that? What would be some of the ways I could make it happen? Right? Who do I need to talk to? What do I need to learn? What do I need to build? What if it was possible? What should I do? And what you find is that when you start asking yourself these questions, something happens in your business, right? Or in your life. You start to look at things from a whole other perspective, from like a 20,000 foot view, right? It's almost, it almost becomes, not to get weird or anything, but it almost becomes like an outer body experience, meaning like you're actually looking at your business from a different lens than most of us look at our business. Most of my life, and I'm sure you guys can relate, I remember from my jobs and everything I've done in my life, everything I always looked at was from, just a few feet ahead of me. There was no what ifs. There was, this is the way it is. Right? There was no imagine. Now, don't get me wrong. That didn't mean I didn't imagine trying to do other things or I didn't want stuff to happen, but everything was always, it seemed it was predetermined. There was no other bridge. There was no other way to make something happen. Everything was already shown to me by my employer. It was done for me. Do you know what I mean? So, when you begin to take a step back and look at your business or your life as, this series of decisions and what ifs, what if you make a right instead of a left? What could happen? What if you sent out 5 emails today instead of 2? What if your sound was incredible? What would that be? How would you judge that? You know what I mean? What if your business was $100,000 a year business? What would that look like? And when I say what would that look like, how would that be? Like, what would you do? What do you think you would need to do? Do you know what I mean? What do you think would need to happen? What are the things that would need to be in place? Would you need to have a bookkeeper? Would you need to have an assistant that's doing daily tasks for you, like marketing tasks, like XYZ on a daily basis over and over and over again, right? How do you get your work done Monday through Friday and still have off Saturday and Sunday? What does that look like? Right? If you haven't asked yourself these questions, I challenge you to play this what if game because, to me, we have to be able to see the outcome to some extent. Now, I don't mean see like what's actually going to happen because I think that's silly and impossible, but I think we can to some extent, imagine what could be. What could happen? What if? And by imagining that, it expands our minds to a place where we can actually open the door for new possibilities. I think so much of what I've done in this business has, been based on a couple of things. One has been based on what I've learned from others that have come before me. The others have been what I've learned by just trial and error and trying things out and putting my head down and working. But also, a big part of my business that I've really, really, really tried to implement that I've never done in any other part of my life is to always step back and ask this question. Like, for example, let's tackle something simple, right? Like, what if your editing could go faster? Right? That's a valid question. I get asked that question all the time, and I think it's an extremely good question. It's something that I asked myself over and over again, and finally I got to the point where I'm pleased with how fast I edit. I'm not saying that there's magic behind it of some kind, or there's something that, others can do and others can't. But I'm saying, imagine that. Imagine what if your editing could go faster. Well, we all know the benefits of that, right? Because we know that if you're just starting out or you're still, working on the editing, it takes forever, right? Editing takes forever. For me, what took the longest was honestly getting out clicks. Getting out clicks in my voice took the longest. I'd have to go through line by line and just take out the clicks. I had to do it manually when I first started. I didn't know any better. Pops, right? I had to take out pops manually. I didn't know how to not do those. I didn't even, when I started, I didn't even know about pop filters. I had no idea. I didn't even know what a pop filter was. I had no idea that I saw some people with this stuff on their microphones, like on YouTube and stuff. I'm like, what's that? I'm not kidding. I didn't even know what a pop filter was, you know? And, as time went on, I asked myself, what if it was faster? What would that look like? What if I didn't have to go through line by line? Is there a way out there to make that better, to make that faster? Now, you have to remember, we are all starting somewhere. Many of us who are just starting, we have no idea about mixing music or sound or voice. We don't know how to edit out weird noises. It's funny when we listen to something on the radio and we just get into this business. It's like, oh, this is, I just got to record something and everything's going to sound great. And then lo and behold, you go record something. You're like, oh my gosh, this sounds like, what's the deal? It sounds like crap. My voice, I've got mouth noise. I got this weird like stuff going on with my mouth. I've got clicks. I've got breaths. I've got huffing and puffing. I've got long pauses. I've got plosives. I don't even know what a plosive is, but for the sake of this conversation, let's say I do. I've got these pops, right? I got all these things wrong. And then on top of it, my voice doesn't sound like that voice. That voice sounds like all this. It's warm and it's this full voice, and mine sounds tinny, or it sounds like there's nothing to. I mean, there's all of these things we have to tackle. But playing the what if game begins to expand our mind to where we can step back and say, okay, what if I was to solve this? What if it could happen instantly? What do I need to do to make that happen? What could possibly be done? What if I could just press a button and it fixes itself? What if I don't even have to press a button? What if I just needed to talk into the microphone, and while I'm talking into the microphone, my system takes care of all these issues automatically for me? What if? All right? This is a massive upgrade to your thought process. But see, most of us don't even take the time to think about this, because what we're doing is we're sticking, we're putting our head down and just working. We're just doing the work. We're not stepping back and looking at how to better our business, because that actually takes us to a point where we have to look at our business as if we're entrepreneurs. And most of us don't look at our business as entrepreneurs, except from pretty much that first moment that we started the business, when we looked at it as an entrepreneur, because we said, you know what if I could do this? What if I could start a voiceover business, and make six figures, or make a nice, side income to where I feel comfortable? Or, if you're doing some other business, what if I could grow this business to, what I want it to be? Or what if I could start this business and go full time? And what if I could make enough money to help my spouse stay home, or to pay, for something I'm trying to do, or my kid's school, or whatever you're trying to do, my retirement? What if I can, take that extra trip, or go golfing? What if I, don't, or what if I could build something so I'm not bored every day? There's so many million reasons to do it. But we started that as an entrepreneur when we first started our business. We said, what if? And there was possibilities, right? There was, our imagination ran wild. And then as we started the business, we realized that there was all of these things that we had to do. And we put our head down and we got to work. And if we wanted to get more work, what do? We put our head down even more and we work harder and longer. And most of us never step back and think as an entrepreneur again. We never step back and say, what if? So I wanted to come to you tonight, and I just wanted to have, like a good conversation with you guys about saying, what if? Taking a moment and saying, what if things were this way? Right now maybe you're making a couple $1,000s a month in your business. What if I made $10,000 a month? What would that look like? I did this very same exercise about 3 months before I decided to quit my job. And I was at a point. I'm a firm believer we all get to plateaus in everything we do, right? Whether it's your business, weight loss, as an athlete, in a hobby, in in a job, we all get to plateaus, right? And we have to find ways to overcome those plateaus, places where we get to and we're comfortable, but going beyond that and growing takes some discomfort. Well, I'd gotten to a plateau in my business, and I was making, about $3,000 or $4,000 a month, which is wonderful, but it wasn't enough for me to really feel comfortable, leaving my job. Now, mind you, it was just as much, even a little bit more than I was making a month on my job. But what had happened is that just because I was a poor manager of money, I took everything that I was making with my job and all of this new money I was making with my voiceover business, and I basically combined it and turned it into my overall income so that everything that came in from my business became my income. I hope that makes sense. So there was no extra money, meaning that if I was to leave my job, then I would be actually down, $3-4 grand a month because, that was what I just kind of rolled it into our income. So it was like I got a raise. It wasn't like I had a separate business that was making money on its own that was being put away. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just the way. I don't know if you find yourself in that boat or if you know what I'm talking about, but that's what I did. So anyways, I realized that I needed to figure out a way to make more money than $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Do you know what I mean? And but I didn't know what I do because at the time I was literally working nonstop from the moment I would get up at 6 and I would go to bed about 3 or 4 a.m. and get right back up at 6 because, when I'd get home and do all this stuff around 5 with the family, start working at voiceover around 10 p.m. Y'all know the story. I worked to about, 2 to 4 a.m. in the morning, go to bed, take my booth down because I had to put up and take down my booth every day. And that was what I did. And I realized at one point I was so I was literally falling asleep at work. I'd never done that in my entire life, but I was falling asleep at work, and I was falling asleep not like saying, "Hey, I'll take a cat nap." I was literally falling asleep uncontrollably. It was the craziest thing, most of the craziest thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I had to say, what if this was different? What if I could make $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month? What if I could make that much money? What would that look like? What would I need to do? Where would I need to go? What help would I need? What would my prices need to look like? What would my offerings need to look like? How many different places would I need to do? What kind of activities would I need to have, going on a daily basis? What would my studio need to be? What would my equipment need to be? What would my website need to? What would I need to be? What would what if it was possible? What do I need to do? Right. I literally made some decisions. It's funny if you go back on something that, maybe you consider that you had some success on. There was pivotal decisions that you made at key times in that business or that point in your life, whether it was a relationship or whether it was, whatever, that those decisions defined, the path you took. It defined what happened, and I've made some, I can look back in my business and I feel like I've made, 3 to 5 decisions over the course of the last, 4 years or so in my business that have really been big decisions that really pushed my business forward to break barrier after barrier. And they were scary decisions, but none of them would have ever come without me playing this what if game. What if something different was possible? What if more was possible? I hope this has helped you tonight. I hope this isn't been something that is, kind of been oh, he's a dummy. I hope this helps you stop and think in your business about what if things could be more. What if I could have the studio of my dreams? What if I could have the equipment? A lot of times I hear a lot of I can't. Well, I can't afford it. I can't I can't do it. I can't make it. I can't do this and I can't do that. Instead, I challenge you to say, what if I could? What would that look like? How could I? Not I can't. I mean, if you say I can't afford something, I can't afford a new microphone. Okay, well, that is so finite. Instead of saying I can't afford a new microphone, say, what if I could afford a new microphone? How would that happen? Or how could I get a new microphone? Not I can't afford it. I can't get it. How can I get it? I always find there's a line that most of us, when there's something we want bad enough, boy, we find a way to get it. No matter what, we will climb the highest mountain. The key is for us to ask the right questions. If we ask the right questions, our businesses, our lives will look a lot different than they do now. You guys, thank you so much for listening. I know I've been a little bit more not as chipper or so tonight, but I just got done writing a big blog post. I was really excited about all the different places I'm making money through voiceover. I think it's actually the first time I've ever written down the actual sites. I mean, most people know where I make my voiceover money because I'm very transparent about it, but I wanted to write down. That's on the blog from VO's Journey, the blog post. It's the latest blog where I make my money. So I wrote that down. So that was really exciting, but that took a while. But I wanted to come and make sure I do a podcast and to talk to you because I've really been diving into this what if thought process. What if it was going to be different? Like I thought to myself, what if I worked with multiple voice actors? I always considered, I'll just do voiceover by myself. But what if I had 5 other voice actors that were part of VO's Journey? And we all worked together to give voiceover work. You know what I mean? Or VO's Journey got voiceover work for all of us. I mean, why not? What would that change VO's Journey to? It's interesting if you go back. I mean, I remember when I first started this podcast, everything was just about, what if I could go full time as a voice artist, right? If you go back and listen to the beginning of this, or you're just finding me now, you'll know. I mean, this story, it's such an interesting, journey of just one guy, and I'm interested, I wonder what it will be a year from now or 2 years from now. What will that journey be? What will this business look like then? I can tell you this, I will document it right here on a VO's Journey. And hopefully, you know what I mean? The things that I go through, and like I said, the things I step on, you'll be able to sidestep and build the business of your dreams. All right, you guys, you have a fantastic evening. Thank you so much. If you get a chance, I would be ever so grateful. Hop over there on iTunes or Spotify or whatever. Leave a review. I'm always thankful. The podcast occasionally has been trending up in the top 100 or 150 or so in the business podcast, which is unbelievable. So I'm so thankful. So, if you guys get a chance, I'd be super, super, super appreciative. And as always, you guys have a wonderful week and I will be back soon. All right, you guys, take it easy. Peace.